So again, this is Jason Steinberg from Scanifly speaking. We're really excited for you all to join us. Just wanted to provide a brief overview. All right, so creating awesome drone-based 3D models, i.e. photogrammetry, relies on images having similar key points and coloring. This is particularly crucial for accurately designing and analyzing solar projects. This is also a foundational component for this is capturing data with good exposure. We want to thank everyone for joining us, and also to give a special thanks to our curriculum partner and host HeatSpring, as well as content expert and hardware partner Hudson Valley Drones. Today, though, we're going to review the optimal environmental conditions for flying, what hardware and filters to consider, what camera settings are best for various circumstances, and several examples from projects around the world. We also will do a deep dive into what is photogrammetry. I'm going to hide my video here so you can focus on the slides that are going to come up, and I'm going to walk you through a brief introduction. So to start, I want to walk you through a few images to set the scene. And do any of these resonate with you? That's what I'd love for you to think about, right? So first, we have sun glare. This is often found at dawn, dusk, or midday, okay? There's whiteout with direct sunlight mixed in with trees or white roofs or facades. Beware of light reflecting off of a metal roof and affecting the camera's lens. And then significant or intermittent cloud coverage or flying at dusk can lead to some images being dark. And that lighting difference, whether it's darker or lighter, will create color inconsistency and can lead to texture map discoloration and possibly even a modeling error, okay? And then finally, images taken when the drone is flying too fast or foggy weather or really dark conditions can create blurry images. And this diminished clarity will cause sight features to not map so well, right? So these are the types of images that we're trying to avoid, and this is what we want to help you perfect and clarify, all right? So to start, I want to get a sense from everyone how relevant this issue is for you, right? Do you experience these problems while you fly? Is it something that you see most commonly? Is it something you see never at all? Are you not really sure, and that's why you've joined us? Awesome. Thank you, Brian. So we just launched our first poll. We're going to have a couple of these throughout the webinar, and we're going to try to learn from everyone as to these problems and also how we can solve them. So when you get a chance, please select how you resonate with these problems, and then we'll continue on from there. Okay. Let's close them and let's share those results. So it seems like a significant majority, well, not a majority of people say they face these problems sometimes, which I think makes sense depending on where you're located geographically and what time of day you fly. There's a lot of people who say they're not really sure, and I think that's great because you've joined us today to figure that out. So that's fantastic. Great. All right, so we can close the poll now. Okay, and let's do one more poll. Starting to get into the guts of what this presentation entails. So at a high level, do you know what exposure is? If you do, that's awesome. Hopefully you'll still have plenty of things you'll learn from us. If you don't, you've come to the right place. And if you say, I think so, that's probably right down the fairway, because I think most of us have a general sense of what it is, but when we talk specifics, it's still a little bit opaque, to be a bit punny with that. So fill out the poll. Give us a sense for your knowledge of the topic at hand, specific to exposure, and then we'll address some of the other ones as we go forward. Okay, great. So the majority of people are aware of what exposure is, which is fantastic. And I think a remainder of the group is not sure or might not know, and so that's okay as well. From a purely definition perspective, right, a photograph's exposure determines how light or dark an image will appear when it's been captured by your camera. Believe it or not, this is determined by just 3 camera settings: aperture, ISO, and shutter speed, what is known as the exposure triangle. This is clearly tied to lighting, glare, and all the elements that were reviewed in the prior images that I showed you at the start. And Keith will walk through a lot of the more specific items when it comes to this in his portion of the presentation. Okay, great. All right, so where are we going to go from here? What are we going to cover in this presentation now that we've set the scene? I'm going to provide a brief overview of Scanifly, so you have a good sense for who we are and what we do. We'll also introduce our other partners throughout the presentation. We will also do a deep dive on what is photogrammetry, right? The underlying foundational technology that drives this process. We'll also talk about different project examples. And both numbers 2 and 3 will be done by my colleague, John Novak. Keith at Hudson Valley Drones will then discuss in great depth strategies for managing exposure in the future. And so he's going to talk about camera settings as well as navigating your hardware in particular. So we're going to cover all of these. We're going to save a bunch of time for Q&A as well. Okay. So just to start out, right, Scanifly's goal is to remove the inefficiency and human dependence in the solar workflow. Our team consists of nearly all solar professionals, so we've experienced a lot of the workflow firsthand. Problems like climbing on the roof or walking fields or using tape measures, they lead to challenges, right? And satellite imagery and poor data create inaccuracies and change orders. So our vision at Scanifly is to streamline, automate, and centralize as much of the workflow as possible in order to make it faster, safer, cheaper, and more accurate for the industry, right? And we know that getting good drone imagery is foundational to doing that for the surveying process, okay? So with our software, we can help solar companies survey, design, and operate projects more effectively. Scanifly software is used by solar companies all over the world, and whether it be perfectly created arrays or shading analysis, sharing beautiful imagery, or exporting to AutoCAD or SketchUp, Scanifly customers are enhancing their workflows. And we know many of them are joining us on the webinar today, which we appreciate. Okay. So just briefly, Scanifly's workflow. Step 1, when you're going to go to the site and you're going to fly a drone and take pictures of the site's features. Then you'll upload those drone photos to our software, which automatically stitches them together to make a virtual replica 2-scale 3D model of the project. It is these phases right here where capturing data is most relevant, and that's obviously the most relevant topic of that we're going to talk about today on this webinar, okay? Once you have your 3D model, you'll design and analyze your project, and then you can export it to a variety of platforms for CAD files, bankable shade reports, sales imagery, etc. Here's some basics regarding the benefits you'll get from using our software. So you're definitely going to reduce time on site by using drones. You're going to assess with far better accuracy, especially than satellite imagery or other aerial data, and you're going to improve worker safety by staying off the roof, right? And so these are all the benefits, especially if you're going to capture great data. You're going to get fantastic imagery when you're using drone-based 3D modeling. We've got bankable shade reports as the only drone-based platform to have that in the US, and it's a fantastic solution for new builds, right? So these are all benefits that you'll get from using drone-based 3D modeling software, especially using Scanifly. Okay. And just a reference to how to fly the drone, we advocate flying with the point of interest flight path. This is best done to capture imagery at an angle or oblique imagery, and that's best used for getting fine-tuned details of project sites. So we usually recommend doing a context flight at a high altitude and a larger radius, and then several detailed flights at a lower altitude and a tighter radius. And this is a great way to make good-looking 3D models. Okay. Scanifly does a variety of continuing education, including partnering with NABCEP for CE credit. We offer this monthly, and we also do a lot of CE work with HeatSpring, which is a fantastic partner. Specifically about HeatSpring, they are our host today, and they're our curriculum partner, and we love working with them. HeatSpring offers more than 160 courses, including NABCEP training, and a 12-week drone pilot bootcamp that takes you through from your Part 107 license all the way to flight skills, data gathering, data prep, and report production. We can't speak more highly about Brian, his team, and the whole HeatSpring group. If there is curriculum that you're looking for, they've got it on their platform. So I advocate going there after the webinar and really doing a deep dive because, when you join Scanifly, when you join HeatSpring, that's step 1. But continuing your education as you go through, staying up to speed on new technology, HeatSpring in particular is a great resource for staying ahead in the industry.